Welcome back to Beyond Chronic Burnout. I'm your host, Carol Jean Whittington, and I'm thrilled to bring you the second episode in our three-part Leading Ladies series. Today, we have an inspiring guest who will share her profound journey of overcoming burnout. Our guest today is Danielle Joworski, a visibility expert whose mission is to help female entrepreneurs over 40 conquer their fears of being seen and heard. Danielle is an award winning businesswoman, the creator and host of the C Suite on Rogers TV, and has been recognized as the visibility queen by Excellion magazine. In today's episode, Danielle opens up about her personal burnout experience, resigning from her leadership role at a Fortune 500 company at the age of 40 after crying at lunch and behind her closed office door. She shares how she normalized the whispers of stress, always having her brain on, and chronically engaging in negative self talk. The biggest realization for Danielle was acknowledging that she was the common denominator in everything she didn't love about her life. We'll dive into how burnout for Danielle showed up, and that was a misalignment. We'll dive into what those areas were with her and what happened when she finally achieved her big goal. It may not be what you think. Plus, stick around till the end, where Danielle will share three key strategies to avoid burnout and stay aligned with your true self. So, if you're ready to learn from a true visibility queen and discover how to reclaim your power and avoid burnout, stay tuned. This episode is packed with wisdom and actionable insights. Let's get started.
Hey there, I'm Carol Jean Whittington, your guide. Through the waves of burnout, we'll turn the tide. Feel the sun on your face, let your worries subside. Together we'll chase the dreams you've always denied. No more stress, no more feeling distraught. I'll show you how to find the joy that you saw in every moment. Let your happiness ripen. Let's ride the waves. Feel the positive vibes deep within. Ride the waves of love. Let your worries go. Find the strength within to let your true colors show. With Carol G. Whittington guiding your way, you'll embark on a journey to a brighter day.
Boy, when we talk about burnout and you can do it all with help, I think we all think we can do it all, and it's what got us in burnout in the first place, and no one wants to ask for help. So we're really going to dive into this one with you, Danielle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carol G. I'm really excited to be here.
So, Danielle, I always love to start the conversation off because I think we all have our own unique experience of burnout. Sort of how did that show up in our life, and it can be so relatable on so many different levels, and then there's all these little different nuances to it. What has been your experience with burnout? How did it show up for you? How did you first recognize it? How long do you think it was going on before you recognized it? What did you think? I mean, were you trying to do it all without help?
Well, of course. And it's funny when I think back on it. I didn't have a word for what I was experiencing when I was in corporate leading up to my 40th birthday. It's not a word that was really used. It wasn't until I became an entrepreneur and you're in this different world. We use different vocabularies, different words, that this concept of burnout was presented to me. And I was sat and I thought about it. I said, oh, definitely. I had burnout multiple times in my career. And most significantly, leading up to the point when I decided to resign from my career in Fortune 500. I was in management, I was leadership. And I thought back to those days where I would be sitting at the lunch table crying. And I would have tears. Everyone else was done their lunch. I would be there by myself, and I would have tears streaming down my face, crossing my fingers that nobody came by. Or I would be in my office and I would close my door and turn off my lights and look out the window and hold back tears because I was just so exhausted, overwhelmed, all these different emotions, tired. And I didn't have that word to describe what I was experiencing until after the fact. It was after the fact that I realized that I was in this place of burnout in my career and realized, okay, these were all the symptoms. This is how it was showing up very obviously, but then became what were those smaller things that were maybe the whispers that were highlighting that burnout was coming that I was ignoring.
So, what were you ignoring?
Good follow-up question. For me, I call them the whispers. Again, it comes with awareness. A lot of the times, and we were talking about this before we started recording, it's our norm. What those little symptoms that we're experiencing, that just becomes norm. So when we're not aware that they could potentially be signs of burnout, we think that, oh, this is just normal. This is what everyone goes through at this point in time when things are busy. And when I look back at different periods and points in my career, I was a mom, I was in leadership, I had really hard work ethic. It was, I'm going to stay here and do things until everything is done. I don't want to disappoint other people. But for me, the signs that I was ignoring, I would start getting really angry really fast. So little trigger and small things would start to really, really bother me. I wasn't sleeping, and it wasn't just not sleeping through the night. It was challenging to even fall asleep. When I did fall asleep, I would be waking up during the night as well. Because my problem for me was this thing. This thing just would not stop. And
The
even and
brain,
people,
the
yeah,
thought
the
loop.
brain just, it just keeps on going. And and people had said to me, well, if you can't sleep, just kind of have a book beside your bed and write things down just to get it out of you, to do a brain dump, and then you can go to sleep. It wasn't working because the brain just kept thinking about all of the negative things. What did I do wrong that day? What did I forget to do? What's coming up the next day? What conversations do I need to have? Oh, shoot, I forgot to turn off my office light. These little things, and it was never typically positive. They were all negative and became this really horrible loop of bad self-talk that ended up then going from self-talk to it started manifesting in different physical ailments, the fatigue, again, the popping off and being very quick to anger, to the inability to focus and to get work done, which then caused me to actually have to work longer, which means you're sleeping less. And it was just became this tidal wave. But when I was in it, that was just the norm. And it was hard to step out, to step away and look at what was happening with a really different perspective to say, oh, this is not normal. This needs to be changed. And it was not possible for me to do that because I think at the end of the day, I didn't have a word for it. I didn't have the awareness, I didn't have the realization that this is happening and also what help was available to stop the cycles.
So, Danielle, in that moment where you finally had a word, where you had some answer or clarity to all of the things you'd been feeling, what allowed that to happen? What led to that aha of like, holy cow, I've been in burnout.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I didn't realize it again to become an entrepreneur. It wasn't until I stepped out of that corporate
Oh,
environment, I had time to rest, recuperate, do some recovering. I got into personal growth work. I was able to look back and say, oh, that's what all that was. And understanding what role I played in it. And then the role I needed to play and I didn't, which was not using my voice, not asking for help, not asking for a break, and not giving myself grace or compassion for what I was going through, thinking that it was me, I have to do this all by myself, and I'm going to just plow on through and keep moving forward, not even realizing that moving forward meant a lot of things not being taken care of.
Danielle, thank you so much for sharing that experience that you've had in your life with us today because what you just described is one of the two main ways that people come to their burnout awareness. It's either number one through that ghost pepper level 5 when you're so hot you're not, it's just like the full shutdown crash. Like when
Yeah.
everything just quits, it doesn't matter. There is nothing happening. The ripcord has been pulled on the parachute, right?
Yeah.
And the other way is the clarity through contrast, which is what you
Ooh,
described.
I like
That
that.
shift of environment and nourishment, and really specifically those environmental changes, right? When we're stepping from one norm, habituated, automated way of being, and now we're in a new one, and it creates this contrast for clarity. So I love that you have shared that, because those are the two big places that we see burnout awareness happen.
Good. And I love
when
that
it all
terminology.
stops.
Yeah, yeah, the contrast to clarity, because sometimes when you're in it, you're just so focused on, I just need to keep moving forward, and there's the pressure, there's the expectations. There's this belief and mindset that you can't stop. It doesn't make sense to stop and pause and just take a little bit of a break. We have to keep moving forward, right? But sometimes this is something I've learned since being an entrepreneur and doing the personal growth work, is that that pause is so powerful, and the pause
Power in the
can actually create
pause.
the space. Yes, the power of the pause, it creates the space to give you the time, the energy, the focus to then keep moving forward a lot easier and a lot faster. But it might, the language I used and the mindset I had at the time was, no, you don't pause. You just keep plugging forward. You keep moving forward at all costs.
Absolutely. And that aligns with that number one unmet nourishment key that we talk about in the unveiling method when we look at those top 30 nourishment keys. And number one biggest energy depleter out there is emotional safety. And that's that internal trust, that emotional safety. Like, it's okay for me to slow down. I'm safe to stop. I can take the pause. It's okay. It's safe. And we don't, when we don't feel it's safe, even on, that's
Yeah.
on a unconscious, incompetent level, right?
Yes.
And for
Yes.
those of you guys listening that are in the unveilers, you've taken the spicy pepper quiz, you've gone through that degree of heat, and you've gone through those internal warning signs, those top 20 warning signs of burnout. I bet you were ticking them off in your head as Danielle was sharing her story.
Hopefully not too many.
Well, there was a good chunk of some of the top ones in there, and it was really good. It's, an emotional dysregulation, just crying, being really irritable and reactive. Your emotions are like there on the surface. It's like somebody just is like, don't poke the bear. It's like, heck, I barely even was in the room with you.
You
Right?
just had to look at me the wrong way.
Like, I just had to feel you looking at me from three houses down, and I was pissed, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
And sometimes it comes up that way, and it's so often misidentified as depression. But we got to look at some of those underlying, those causational things, those environmental things, the things that we are unaware of that are happening. Because you were talking about, I just wasn't aware. I thought this was how it was. And I love that, because you wanted to talk about the connection between burnout and a misalignment of work, because you went from corporate to entrepreneurship. And in that contrast, that shift, you gained such clarity around burnout. Talk to us about misalignment of work. What are some of these things that you have to share with us today, Danielle?
Yeah. So, and what I mean by the misalignment of work and that connection to burnout is, I almost visualize it as you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole when there's just a misalignment. And it doesn't have to be like because it's the wrong company. It's just sometimes over time, values change, you change. And when I look at myself personally, I changed. Where I was in my point in life change. I was a mom of two young kids at that point in time, and it just became, I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and I was trying to do things and do things in a way that when I've since done work on values and what are my core values, they became misaligned. Again, I didn't have the language to understand why. I just knew at the point in time it was, well, this doesn't feel right, but maybe if I just work harder or I just work a little bit differently, I can again pound that square peg into the round hole and make it fit and make it work. That caused me to again continue to work a lot longer hours, to take on more work, that I was physically able to say yes to everything and to not be okay saying no, to spend all my time working and then less time with my family, who at the end of the day, they're the ones who need me the most. So it was just this really, like you said, executive functioning. I wasn't able to focus. I wasn't able to move, like multitask anymore. Just all of these things because I was spending so much time trying to do something that was no longer the right fit, and it was a misalignment to who I was at that point in time, and then also who I was stepping into and becoming.
That's really wow. I'm like taking that in. I hope you guys are pausing and just power of the pause here, folks.
Power of the pause.
Taking that in. That's such a powerful thing. And I think one of the things that I teach and that I guide people through in the unveiling method is unmasking our values. Because so often, without realizing it, we've agreed to certain values or we've adopted certain values in certain environments, or we have, taken these certain values that, sure, we value them, but really they may not be the best alignment for us. Maybe we say, this was mine. Okay. So I'm just speaking for myself here. Oh, family is my number one value. But when I started to unmask and really unveil my authentic self and dig down to why do I feel that way and believe that, it wasn't true. Now, you also have to be able to stand in a place that you are being that leading lady in your life. You're being that, that personally powered person. And I'm like, it's okay that my family is at number one. My number one value is my health so that I can show up for my family.
Yes.
And when I just reordered my values, the alignment started to really allow energy to flow in. What are some of those alignment points, those values that when you started to make these shifts that you're talking about were like, wow, this is really coming together now?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
where the misalignment was happening?
Oh, it just became the why, that underlying why did I want certain work and why did I want certain positions? It was because of a
Mm.
decision I made in my 20s when I had no idea what the workforce at that level was all about. And I made a decision in my 20s that I wanted to be a manager and earn a certain dollar value by the time I was 40. That unconsciously drove a lot of my career decisions. I changed jobs frequently. I kept climbing that corporate ladder. And then when I finally achieved everything I wanted to achieve at age 38, woo, I achieved it, 2 years early.
Woohoo, 2
It
years
became,
shy. Look at you, overachiever.
hey, I get a little badge for that. However, the flip side is once I got there, I wasn't course correcting and doing again that personal growth work and checking back in as I was going through my career. Once I achieved what I thought I wanted in my 20s, and here I am now at 38, it became, oh, but it doesn't align with who I am, what it is that I really, I think, truly want to do and what feels good. And I use a lot of terminology now I would never have used back then around alignment and abundance and just that sense of purpose and fulfillment. I was missing all of that. Once I got where I thought I wanted to be, it then became, oh. And there was no sense of joy. There was no sense of fulfillment or purpose to what I was doing. But here I am just trying to, okay, well, I'm going to create all of that. I'm going to create this feeling that I feel like I'm missing. So for me, that was a big part of it, was just you had this idea. You get there, and then you realize, oh, it doesn't work. So that became a misalignment in values because I was trying to do something that I'm going to say internally, my soul was just not, it wasn't for me. It was no longer the path for me. Maybe earlier in my career, yes, it was, but somewhere along the way, I shifted and another path was beginning to open up for me. And I didn't see it and I couldn't see it because I was so focused on this one. But it became, yeah, it was that internal shift that happened, which again, I didn't have a language for. And even if I started to have a language, it was like, who's going to understand what I feel? When from the outside looking in, I have everything. I've got the great job. I work for this really massive company. I'm earning a lot. Like I drove a beautiful car. I had all these things, but yet you feel so empty and alone on the inside. There was this sense of, well, there's something wrong with me. It's me. It's not anything around me. It's me. So I think that was the biggest piece as well that I've learned around the values piece, was that it's not, it was me. It was totally me, but it was this new version of me that was basically saying, this is no longer the path for you, because there's something else that's much more aligned for you to be doing in this new part of your life.
Ooh, I love this. This is so good. Like last month in May for our mental health series, we had Court McDermott on the show, and she said, I reached that pinnacle. She had been at Vanity Fair and some really huge companies, and she was, a high level executive. And she said, I was miserably successful. And I was like,
like that.
ooh, I know, right? Miserably successful. And that sounds like that same, we reach this place, and this happens a lot in just a variety of different levels of things. So we have this idea and we think this is what I want and this is where I'm going. And so we're so focused on the destination that we are disconnected from the journey and the shifts that happen within along the way. So when we arrive at the destination, we finally reach where we're trying to get. And it's kind of like when you've booked the Airbnb online and all the pictures look great, and you get in the car and you drive the 8 hours and you get there and you open the door and you're just like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
This
There
does
was a
not
filter
look like the
used.
pictures. Somebody was standing on the corner in a chair, and this room is not that big. No one sneeze. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
and then
true.
it's like, this was not what I thought it was. And so
Mhm.
this is the part I really want to dive in with you. And it's when you recognized, okay, I am miserably successful. I have checked off the box. I got here early. I've done all this stuff. This is not where I want to be. This is not in alignment, even though I don't have the word alignment to describe it, but I feel this. How do you go? What happened? What did you have to put into place to go from corporate to entrepreneurship?
Great question. And what I have to put in place? Well, there's a lot of things I again, looking back, I always say should have put in place, but I didn't do anything. I literally, on my 40th birthday in the evening, the kids had all gone to bed. My husband was getting to go to bed, and I was on the computer, and I looked at him. He kind of came out towards me, and I said, I'm done. I'm done. And he's like, okay, well, we'll create a plan. We'll get a business plan or a career plan. I said, no, I can't do this anymore. Everything in my life was hard. Being a wife was hard. Being a mother was hard. There's no self-care whatsoever. Being a boss was hard. Being a team, everything was hard. And I was the common denominator. I knew I had to own that and take responsibility for that. So my mindset at the point in time was, well, I'll just remove myself from what was taking up all of my time. And I figured, oh, that'll fix everything. But once you start doing kind of the inner work, you realize that you can change
I'm
your
laughing over
environment.
here. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I can go wherever I was supposed to go. But however, until I change this and do the work inside, my external environment is not going to change. I have to change it from the inside out.
Hey everyone, we're taking a short break from the conversation because I have something really special to share with you. If your brain feels like mush or stuck in overdrive where your thoughts feel like they're stuck on a never ending loop, and everything from bright lights to the smallest sounds from the next room are draining your last drop of energy and patience, it might be time to take a closer look at where you stand on the burnout scale. Introducing the Spicy Pepper Burnout Quiz. This isn't your average burnout test. Our quiz dives deep, looking at 8 different impact areas of burnout, including your sensory system, communication, and sleep. It's specifically designed for those who are neurodivergent and or disabled. recognizing the unique challenges we face. Wondering how spicy your burnout is? Find out if you're a poblano pepper level 1, where you feel just a bit of heat, or if you've reached the level 5 ghost pepper, where you're so hot, you're not. Not only will you discover your burnout level, you'll also receive personalized insights to help you start your journey to energy mastery. So, what are you waiting for? Take the first step towards reclaiming your energy and well being. Head over to whittingtonwellbeing.com and take the Spicy Pepper Burnout quiz today. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Now, back to the show.
So for me, stepping off corporate, it was literally cold turkey. I wrote up my resignation letter, handed it in, cried. I was offered take a leave. Nope, nope, nope. Nope. And in hindsight, that's the one thing I wish I had done, was just taking that leave and give myself that little bit of space to make the decision from a better headspace and not so emotional and tired. However, things happen the way that they do. And I just became an entrepreneur because it became, I have to do something. I've always worked since I was young, so I can't not work. What am I going to do? I looked at all my friends who were successful and loved what they did. They were all entrepreneurs, and the internet at the time made it seem so easy. It became, oh, well, I can do it. I got successful over here. It's supposed to be easy over here, so let's go become an entrepreneur. And it was the biggest
The people that I
eye-opening
see go from
experience.
corporate to online entrepreneurship, it is the hardest transition, because it is a very different mindset, is a completely different
Yeah.
approach. So, oh my gosh, you are so incredibly powerful in modeling and sharing this so vulnerably, there you were like, I didn't have a plan. It was just like I was done. put
In
a fork in
hindsight.
this girl, she's done. Right.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, we all have those 2020 moments, but that is some radical leading later lady leadership in your own life. Really, that is some radical leadership of just saying, no, I'm not doing anything else. This has to stop. So from that point, what in hindsight, because you have come really kind of full circle in this and have gotten to this really beautiful place and in your solo entrepreneurship career here, strategies to rest so burnout's avoided. What are you doing now that's different? What's working? What could you share with someone else so that they can try this on their end, so that they're
Yeah.
not ending up in that place where they're just like, okay, I'm done. Bye.
Yes. Yes. And it's hard. And I burned out as an entrepreneur as well, mostly because I had that corporate mindset that followed me. And well, not followed me, I brought it into the entrepreneurial world of the hustle, 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 hustle. So I burned out as an entrepreneur as well. The strategies that I use now to not burn out is, for one, it's understanding what are those whispers, being very aware, because for me, they're cyclical. They are not any different. How they shout is different. The whispers all start off the same. So understanding, what does that mean? And it could be signs. I get a lot of signs, so a lot of repeating numbers or certain weird animals just showing up haphazardly. So just understanding, oh, so what does that mean? Certain people, and just listening, because sometimes people will say things and random people, multiple people will be saying the same thing. So there's a message in that as well. So those are those little signs and those little whispers that I talk about. Also physically, how am I feeling? And then looking at, okay, am I getting really tired? Am I starting to not sleep consistently? Okay, those are little signs that something is building up. And then I have strategies around how to shift that. So those are those little whispers, is understanding what are those signs that internally and externally are starting to highlight that burnout may be on its way if I don't make some changes pretty soon. So that's a lot of it. The second piece is community, surrounding myself with supportive community. I have a very tight circle where I know if I'm in a bind, if something's not working, I'm starting to get overwhelmed, or I can see that burnout coming, I have resources, people that I can speak to. I'm a coach. Coaches have coaches because we need other
Yes.
people to share with us different perspectives, to tell us what the label is saying on the outside of the bottle, that kind of thing. So I've got community. So number one is understanding the signs and then watching and acknowledging them when they're there, then taking action. The second is community and having people around me that can help me. The third would be asking for help with whatever it is, whether it be working on my business, helping out and around the house, helping just in life in general, asking for help. Because at the end of the day, and I've shared this with you, I believe that we can do it all, we can have it all. It's just not possible to do it all ourselves. And it can happen when you have help and not doing everything at the same time.
Oh my gosh, but how many of us, I'm calling us all out here, folks. So here we go. How many of us believe we're supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to be able to do it all without help? Like somehow we are failing, we are not successful. Somehow we've cheated or skirted the system if we haven't done all of it ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what does help look like, Danielle? I mean, if we can do it all with help, where do we start? Because there's a whole lot of like that, the belief system, right? The stuff that we've bought into that says we have to do it all by ourselves, or somehow it doesn't count. I've even had somebody say, "Well, it won't count if I don't do it all myself." I'm like, says who?
Yes. Yes.
Says who?
So true. Yes. Yes. The
So, like,
world will keep moving
where do we
forward.
start for help? Because this is really uncomfortable. If you are like a high speed, I do it myself, don't touch my stuff, I got this kind of girl.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
how do we start? Because that's a tough
Yes.
shift. Because that's vulnerability.
Yes. Yes. And because it's vulnerability, it starts here and starts here with
So
shifting your
our heart and our
perspective,
head.
our heart and our head, and understanding it, like that you want to give more, you want to do all these things which feel good, but it's shifting the mindset around your beliefs that you have around what asking for help means. And also, what does help
Mm.
look like? Help can be as simple as, you know what, kids, I prepared the meal, I set the table, just I want to sit here, just enjoy my meal by myself, or just sit at the table. I love looking at flyers. So I'm going to pull out a flyer and sit at the table. Can someone else just clear the table? Not load the dishwasher, because I'm all about the dishwasher. But just clear the table and
Because
get
there's
some
a
little
right way and
things.
a wrong way to load a dishwasher.
Yes, yes, yep, yep, all over that. So little things like that, but and then asking for help. And just again, it's those little things. It's someone else clearing the table, so you can take a little bit of a moment to yourself. There's asking for help in your business, understanding what are your strengths, what do you enjoy doing, and what are the things that I'm not very good at, or I can do, but I'm just not wanting to do that, such as my taxes. And so I could do them. I do my own bookkeeping because I kind of like that piece of it. But the taxes, I get someone else. That's their zone of genius. They love to do it. I have no problems having someone else do that. It's their specialty. And for what I've realized too, and something I've learned over the years, that when you ask for help, a lot of times when people ask you for help, it becomes, yeah, I want to help, because we feel good helping other people. When you ask for help, it allows someone else to feel good for doing something. They're giving back in some ways. It also allows someone else to use their brilliance, to tap into things that make them feel alive. And when I'm not asking others for help, it means I'm not creating opportunities for other people to do what they feel called to do, for them to use their gifts, for them to practice and to strengthen, to show up differently in their lives. So I almost see it now as a little bit of selfish. So if I'm not asking for help, I'm actually being very selfish. By trying to do everything on myself, I'm not giving other people opportunities to shine.
Ooh, this is so good. There is so much juice in this, as my friend Kara says. There's so much juice in this. Like, that is so good. Because all of that, once you hear it, once you really understand it, because before we hopped on and we were back in the green room, I was telling Danielle, I'm hiring a podcast manager after 3 years, right? This was a big thing. And I enjoy doing it. I love it. I have had fun doing it. But it's like because I'm paying attention to the journey, because I'm also looking at, well, what am I valuing? And at this phase in my career and in my business, I went, I still value this, but what I'm valuing is this new area that I want to expand in. And I need to be able to show up to do that. And I can allow someone else to step in and manage the podcast and do the production of it and allow them to shine even more. I mean, yeah, I think I do a pretty good job, but I think somebody else that they do this, they're going to do a great job. So you guys, there's no telling what's coming. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be way better than what I've ever done. Right? So it's like, as we do those things, but I had to do some serious belief shifting. I had to do some house cleaning in the belief system that somehow if I didn't do it, it wasn't mine. Right? If I didn't actually do it, then it didn't have my stamp on it. Somehow it wasn't the same. Or it was like cut in the corner kind of thing. Right? And it's like, really? No, I don't think so. So it was really, and it just like this comfort thing. So I love how you've talked about what help is and defining what help looks like for you. Because I think when we
Mm,
can define that, or we can just start to define it, like help is just simply, I just want to sit and look at some flyers. So what does it give me? What does it give someone else? Which I love that you look at both sides of that. It's like help is a reciprocity. And that's so beautiful.
yes.
Because I think that
Yes.
does exactly what your course says in its title, which is lead in plain sight.
Yeah.
Oh, how I love this. So tell us about lead in plain sight. What is that? What is the course? And what are you teaching? How are we leading in plain sight or
Absolutely.
not?
So yeah, yes. And we touch on that as well, because a lot of times we want to be putting ourselves out there. We want to be seen by others in a very particular way. However, whether it be as an in corporate or entrepreneur, it's all about how do you want to be seen and being very clear on that. The course is all about taking you through that journey of understanding what does being visible look like for you, tapping back into that value piece, because we have all these leaders or we have influencers on social media who are presenting themselves in a certain way. And that's great for them, but it may not feel good to us. What becomes how, when you're putting yourself out there to position yourself as that expert in front of your audience, or as that expert who deserves that next promotion, what does visibility look like for you? And then what steps can you start taking that aligns what you're doing with who you want to be showing up as in ways that feel really good?
I that is so key what you just said. Showing up in ways that feel really good to you. Oh, that's so beautiful. So, guys, go check out down in the show notes the link to Danielle Jaworski's class, Lead in Plain Sight. And you can also connect with Danielle at daniellejaworski.com over on LinkedIn. Danielle, how do you like for people to show up and like really connect with you? How can people start the conversation and learn to lead in plain sight with you? Where's the best place to start?
Best place, honestly, follow me on social media, DM me. I post regularly and engage in the comments. I'll share something, and I'm like, I always love to hear other people's perspectives, because at the end of the day, I feel like I am not the expert in everything. I'm just sharing my perspective, and I believe that when we share it, and we're working together and if we're collaborating on things, others learn. We learn so much more when we're working together and sharing. So share, engage in my social comment posts. And if you have any questions, just reach out and DM me.
I love it. And you have such a great newsletter and all of the content that you post over on LinkedIn. I always find so much value in it. So, guys, make sure you go check it out. Danielle, thank you so much for being here today, talking about how you can do it all with help and what it means to lead in plain sight. Because I think there's so many things that we don't always think about on both sides of the table of like when I'm allowing help, I'm also receiving and giving a gift in that to someone else that needs to be able to shine their light in the world. Oh, and you definitely shine your light in the world. So thank you so much for being here today. I have just enjoyed this so much. Guys, we'll see you next week. Stick around because we've got more fabulous leading ladies this month. See you next week. As we wrap up this episode of Beyond Chronic Burnout, I want to remind you of your incredible brilliance. Embrace your uniqueness and know that your journey is one of strength and compassionate curiosity. I'm Carol Jean Whittington, and I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. Stay connected with me on LinkedIn. And for more energizing episodes, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube at Beyond Chronic Burnout. Let's continue thriving together, my friend. Remember, you have the power to break free from burnout and unleash your authentic self. Until our next engaging conversation, take care and keep shining brightly.
You're feeling worn out, tired, blue. Lost your spark, don't know what to do. Carol Jean got the podcast for you. Unleash your fire, let it shine on through. Beyond chronic burnout, you rise. Sustainable energy in your eyes. A powerful leader you will be. Unlock your strength and feel so free. Tune in to wisdom every week. Find that power you truly see. Rise above the burnout haze. Step into the